Hey Zoe, I see you here. I was just about to send you the link, but you got it. Let me also send you guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, my camera does not seem to want to be working.
Oh, you're totally
Uh-oh.
fine.
Do you need me on camera? I'm so sorry. It's been
No,
I've been having tech problems with it all week.
no, we do not need you
Okay.
on camera.
Okay.
If that's an issue, that we'd rather have you here than have you on camera. Let me
Cool.
send
Cool.
this link to the doc so you guys can follow along on the edits. I'm putting this in the chat right now. Um, And so usually, I know I mentioned this yesterday, people kind of pop in throughout the 30 minutes. But usually what we do, we will do just like a quick intro with you, and then you could share your screen. We'll pull up that doc, where your edits are, and you usually we get through like three pitches, and you just review your notes at
Okay.
the bottom and kind of your why for leaving those or examples of what kind of you are referencing in those. And then for the
Okay.
last 10 minutes, we will just open the floor to do just an open Q&A. Everyone can ask your questions. As always, going to, if this is your first time doing these pitch paloozas, if at any point you have a question, it's so casual here, so you can absolutely just unmute and ask whatever questions you need for those pitches, but we will still have that open Q&A at the end as well. So to make sure that we stay on time, Zoe, if you want to kick us off with a quick intro about you, what you're covering, who you're writing for, and then you could share your screen and we could jump into those, but we could start with that intro if whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Sure. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm excited about this. I'm Zoë Weiner. I am a career beauty and wellness editor. I spent 5 years at Well+Good. I was the beauty editor and then the senior beauty editor over there. And then most recently, I am freelancing in those spaces. I focus primarily on beauty and mental health and how sort of wellness and beauty have merged. And these days, I'm kind of all over the internet. I write for Bustle, Byrdie, Women's Health, Glamour. I also have a column on Yahoo that's called Laugh Lines. It's also a Substack newsletter, and that really just dives into all of these topics on beauty and mental health and well-being and sort of the feel good to look good behind it all.
Amazing. You're everywhere. I feel like very
Yeah,
busy.
it's been a busy couple months.
Totally. That's very exciting. We're very excited to have you on. So thank you so much. So we can, I think it's easier if you want to share your screen with the dog, just so you can kind of
Sure.
guide the pace. We don't have to spend a ton of time on each one, just as much explanation as you want to give. Let me pin you here as well.
Make this bigger. Can everyone see that?
Yes, that's perfect. And for everyone joining, I am going
Like
to,
actual pitches?
what was that? Does somebody have a question? No, okay. I'm going to pin this in the chat channel as well, so you guys have it. So Zoe, also, no need to read through the pitch. Everyone will have this doc.
Great.
So you can just go straight into your notes and kind of your whys behind them.
Sure. Okay, so for this one, starting with the subject line, I think best concealer for women over 40, for women 40 plus. I think that's great, but that doesn't tell me a whole lot about why what this pitch is anything different. I feel like I get, pitches with a subject line that's this or some version of this probably 15 times a day. So to make it really stand out, it would be really helpful to understand sort of why this particular product is new or different or better than everything on the market. I think it's really interesting. It's phrased within the pitch that it's actually specifically designed for women over 40 and like to really meet those needs. And I think that's something that is the most important part of the pitch. Like I know just in terms of like content that has done well across the internet that I've written, like this 40 plus sort of demographic, I'm sure you all have seen it too. They really click on things, they really want to buy things. And I think getting in front of an editor to make it feel exciting, like this is actually designed for them and really has those specific needs in mind would be what would get me to open it. I think this publicist did a great job of kicking off the email by letting me know where she came from and where we've worked together before. I'm not great with names. I think a lot of editors that we have a lot of names in our inbox. So it's really helpful to keep track of sort of where we worked with someone before, maybe what we've done with them. That kind of just clues me into, oh, I remember I worked with this person at NewFace. We did a story 3 years ago. She was great. She was super helpful getting me everything I need. So just kind of linking that up for me is always really, really helpful. I hear this a lot from publicists that brand founders, I totally understand it as well, like want to be highlighted as sort of the most important thing in a pitch. And I think there certainly are moments for that. I was not familiar with the beauty industry veteran that was mentioned in this email. So that's something I mean, I would hope that that would be linked to anyway, like anything. I think that always anything that someone would need to look up should be linked to. So the brand and her name and all of that, but also really diving into sort of why she's so important. She has a really great resume. She has great brands on her roster that she's had proven success for, but I wouldn't know that from looking at that email. I had to kind of step out and do my own research, which a lot of people I don't think will do. Um, and yeah, and I think leading with the product in particular, unless it's a celebrity, is always going to be the way to go, unless it's someone that's really, if it's a Pat McGrath or a Daniel Martin or someone that's so name recognizable that it speaks for itself. It's helpful to have a little bit of legwork in there to understand who the person is, and also to maybe add it as an aside, but not make it sort of the lead off to the whole pitch. I think that was it for this one. Yeah, and then just links, and more links.
Do you prefer, and I know we maybe talked about this when you were on the podcast, but do you prefer a format like this? Do you prefer bullet points? If there's something that's a little bit longer, would you prefer a link to a doc that has more info, or do you prefer everything kind of in the pitch right up front?
I think typically I prefer bullet points. I think particularly when it's skincare with a lot of ingredients or technology that has like a lot of studies linked to it, when it's really complicated information, bullet points are definitely better. Especially if it's things like, I was just like, yes, and that was a device that had microcurrent, LED, massage, heat vibrational therapy, like bulleting those out, for example, and like telling me what, like if it was a NewFace, for example, like kind of like bulleting out what the elements of that are is helpful here. I think it's okay because it's not a ton of information. I think the information that's being presented could be stronger, as I've said, but I think none of it is like that complicated that it would necessarily need to be bulleted out.
For sure. Anybody have any other questions with this pitch? Cindy, I saw your comment down there. Did you have any additional questions before we move on to the next one? Okay, I think we're good. Let's hit number 2. That was very helpful. Oh,
Cool.
Cindy, I see you do have a comment here. When she says links, which would be top 3? What do you
That's a good question. I think, oh, the other thing I didn't mention is the shade ranges. I think 10 shades, sorry, I'll answer the question first. I think to the website itself, to the founder's name, and probably the Amazon link, I would guess. Because I think it's, if there is an Amazon link, I think it's important, especially for brands where there are not authorized resellers, to put that Amazon link in there so people are linking to the proper link when they're publishing online.
For sure, very helpful. Cindy,
And shades, yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to touch on really quickly. If it's shades, like if these are flexible shades or if they're like 10 doesn't sound like a lot. So if there are things, if it is 10 shades that really do work for everyone, like definitely highlight that because that's something that any editor is going to be looking for in an initial concealer pitch.
awesome. Perfect. That was super helpful, Zoe. Let's hit pitch number 2 here and hear your feedback on this one.
I thought this was great. If this landed in my inbox, I'd be really excited about it because it, has a study. It feels timely. There's a reason why people are talking about it. It has, like, there's an angle here for that an editor can literally take and write the story, tanning beds are coming back, or this can help spark a story to go deeper into this. I think there's great information in here. This is a really great example of using bullet points, like to map out study things. That's always really helpful. I think they mentioned that there's experts available, I think including a quote or something from that expert just to sort of give us a sense of like who that person is, us as editors, a sense of who that person is, what they can speak on, sort of how they quote is always helpful to see. And the only other thing, the stats in here are just so flooring. And I both from, like writing headlines as an editor and seeing things in my inbox, and numbers kill. Like people just want to see numbers. And if it's a crazy number, like 414%, like that's a wild number that tanning beds are coming back. I think someone did actually pitch something like this with that number, and I was like, wow. And that got me to click on it and read it. So I think like if there's a jarring statistic that is really going to make people's jaw drop, put that as high up in the subject line wherever you can.
Awesome. Any questions on this one, folks? Anything we have here? Perfect. We're cooking through these, Zoe. Thank you. We can hit.
I'm happy to say more. I mean, am I giving you guys enough? I'm like, that one was a good one. So like, I have not much to tear apart.
Very helpful to see the ones that you think are great.
Great. Okay, cool.
Ones. It's a good reference point, and everyone has access to this doc after, so they know you like number 2.
Awesome. Great. For this one, yeah. So I think this one was one where I think the structure could use a little bit of work. There, like in this paragraph right here, there are a few sort of frequently asked questions that, could be sort of like bulleted out, bolded out, just like kind of give some FAQs about this. Have never dealt, I'm not postpartum. Like I, as an editor, don't fully understand the need for this product. So I think really laying that out specifically, because I don't know if this is something that exists on the market necessarily. It's certainly not something that I've covered in depth, if so. But I think, just really kind of explaining what the problem is and now why this product fixes it is really important. I think with any sort of product like this, where it's a problem solution, I mean, I hesitate to use the word problem, but where it's a solution for something that's really common, and the people, like I can look at this and be like, I don't know why someone would need this because I've never dealt with this, but someone who has, or like we saw this story online who has, would say, oh my God, this is amazing. So I think really laying that out for an editor who might not have firsthand experience is really helpful to understand, like, there actually are people who deal with this. It's super common. Here's sort of like what the situation is, and here's why this helps, would be great. And I think a great way to do that would be, by bulleting these out with some frequently asked questions, or just kind of explaining the problem before you dive into the solution. I think another thing, this product, I'm a little bit confused about the angling of this product. Is it just particularly for postpartum moms? And if so, like, let's really spell that out. And if not, if there are other benefits, or if women need this for other reasons, let's get into that too. If you're introducing the product for the first time, I think just having an understanding, if it is for a very niche community, make that very clear, or if it is for everyone, make that clear as well, and sort of outline how it can be helpful in both of those situations. Oh, and there was one other very small thing that's an editorial thing that I noticed in this pitch. When you're talking about a single brand, it's not there. That's something that's like drilled into our brains as editors. And I know when it comes up in a, like, it's just such a small thing that dings me, and I know dings other editors too. Not that we wouldn't consider a pitch because of it, but just to keep in mind.
It not there. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like it took me 3 years to get that into my head at Well+Good. Of like every story was like, brands are not people, so you use its and not theirs. But that I think every editor has had to go through that with beauty brands in particular.
Now you see it in pitches and you're like, you're running it through your head.
Yeah. So I'm just shouting it out here on my small platform here.
So what I'm kind of hearing with this pitch is have a little bit more of a tie-in as to why it's relevant and who else it's relevant to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think additionally, like, are there any studies? Is there any expert backing from Dr. Renita that we can get in here just to provide a little bit more color? I think they do have a quote. Yeah, these quotes are from Dr. Renita, and I think they're great, but just really highlighting them. Like, they do have this expert voice in here, and it's a little bit getting lost of like, what are we talking about, and what are we let's make it really clear, I guess, like what the point of the product is, and the fact that like experts really do stand behind it and there is validity to it.
For sure. I'm hearing we like stats.
We like stats, we like experts. I think, I think there are so many products out there, and I think that the ones who have, you guys know, thousands of emails a day about products, and the ones that really stand out and feel legit and worth covering are the ones that kind of go beyond the like an email saying, this is great. The brand says it's great. We say it's great. So it's great. But like, what else can stand behind that? And like, where, we always say as editors, like, you want two sources. So like, oh, but I'll just finish. If you're getting it from the brand, like to have it another source, either a stat or a dermatologist or whoever saying something is really helpful to get that second vote of confidence.
For sure. Eric, I see you right here.
Yeah, I have a question, Zoe. This is all very helpful. My question is about putting in quotes and more details. It makes the pitch very long, and we constantly are hearing from reporters that our pitches are too long, and keep them to 4 sentences sometimes, or a couple short paragraphs. So how do we balance? That's always the challenge, balancing giving the information out versus not having the pitch be too long.
Yeah, I hear that. And I definitely feel that too. I think that is kind of why this pitch doesn't work for me necessarily, because it doesn't grab me at the top. Like, I think a pitch, you certainly don't want something to be super long. And I think that, bulleting out the points and the information can be helpful. But this pitch, to get like that more important information up top, where it's like, here's what the problem is, here's why this is going to fix it, here's why it's great. And then so that like you're really like those 4 sentences, if somebody reads those and then is hooked, they're going to go read the rest of it. But unless like, so that's why I think this, I read that first paragraph and it's a little bit to me like, I don't like, what are we talking about? Whereas, as I said, like the problem solution, here's what this is. And then if you want to read more and get that extra information, it's helpful to have that in there, because oftentimes everyone is so strapped and writing so much, particularly for products like these, where it's like we need 9 million commerce stories a day with 1,000 products each in them, to have all that information there for them to just search their inbox and turn to, even if it's, even if you don't hear back, like for them to be like, oh, I'm writing a story on feminine wipes, let me see what I have, to just have that there makes the story, like makes it much easier for an inclusion.
Yeah, or sometimes I'll do a pretty short pitch, and then after it, I'll put some, here's some additional information, and put bullet points or links or things like that.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's a great way to do it too, because then it's like you already, you're kind of looking at the more information when you're already interested in it, and that can really help inform the story and kind of where things go from there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We have 2 more minutes before the 10-minute mark. I know we only have one more pitch left, Zoe, and it's a pretty short one. Do you want to just run through this one?
Yeah, this one, I actually do have thoughts on. I think so. One of the things that like this that I see a lot of is people saying like, this is the first, or no one's talking about this, or this is revolutionary. But we as editors are in the market, and most of us have been in the market for a long time. So like when you're saying like, no one's talking about this, or this is the first of its kind, like this one, for example, triggered this because it was like, no one's talking about postpartum hair loss and menopause, but everyone's talking about it. It's like, this pitch to me is like, you're trying to tell me that your expert's the first person to talk about this, and that doesn't feel genuine to me. Like, I think, tell me why this expert or this product, not that it's the first or it's the, no one's doing this, if that's not the case, because at this point in beauty in particular, like it's very rare that something's totally completely brand new, but what makes it special or different? So in this case, like what makes this expert's insight on these subjects special or different? Like what, just what, in sharing topics or angles are really helpful too. Like sometimes those will spark something in my head, and I'll say, oh, this person can talk about, menopausal hair loss among Black women and how that's different. And like, that's a story I haven't seen anywhere. So what can you put in to make this expert seem like they actually are new and different when they're not necessarily the first or the only one talking about something? And that goes for a product as well.
Any questions on this one here? If nobody has questions on this one, these were very, very helpful, Zoe. I love looking at your feedback and everything, and having that to reference. This doc, just for everyone before we move into the just general Q&As, this doc will always be available, so you can always go back and reference Zoe's edits, see why she made them, things like that. But at this point, Zoe, if you want to stop sharing your screen, we can just do an open Q&A. Everyone can just unmute, or you can post it in the chat and I can ask it as well. But I will open the floor up to whoever has that first question for Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Ellie. Really nice to meet you. Obviously, Black Friday is around the corner and sale seasons are about to happen. Lots of brands have offers for products, and I was just really intrigued as to what are your kind of main do's and don'ts for product-led pitching around the sale seasons. What are things that you want to see, don't want to see? what stands out as a pitch from a PR versus just kind of like marketing emails as well. Yeah, just really intrigued to get your kind of main do's and don'ts for the sales season.
Yeah, I think, the easiest, I think, way for me to, it's such a good question because, yeah, that this is the time when inboxes are really crazy. But I think what's helpful for me to share is sort of how I use my inbox and how I use those pitch emails during Black Friday. So like I put everything, I have done a lot of commerce writing, do a lot of commerce writing, covered this sale for many years. And what I do every year is I bring every pitch email for Black Friday into a folder, and then I'll search through that folder for keywords. So if I'm doing gifts under 100, if I'm doing gifts for her, if I'm doing gifts for dad, if I'm looking for body washes, I think the best course of action there is to make sure that what you're pitching is really packed with keywords. And I think like making it really clear sort of like what the products are. Like if it's like a body wash for her, like that's going to come up for me both times I'm searching that. So I think that's kind of how people are doing it, at least everyone that I talk to. So I think like definitely making it really clear what's on offer, who it's good for. I always also find it really helpful when publicists send a full list of all their brands and all the products. Like I love to get something from ABPR that's like, here's every brand, here's what they're offering for Black Friday. So then I can just pull up that email. And like, if I'm making a best Black Friday deals, like everything is in one place. So I think the more information, the better. I often find that like these Black Friday pitches are filled with a bit more like flowery language than they necessarily need. Like I think the product descriptions don't necessarily need to be super long. I think people, if they see it's a cool product that's great for her or whatever it is, if it's something they've tried, that will draw them to it. It doesn't need to be like a huge like description of every single product too, because I think that just gets lost. And I imagine there's a lot of work on your end for stuff that isn't necessarily translating as much as like the keyword piece of it.
Thanks, Zoe. Really helpful.
Yeah. Good luck out there, everyone. We're in it till the holidays.
That's what I was going to say. Something else, because I know I've already seen a bunch of gift guides. When would you say, and this is maybe a little bit more general, but when would you say the cutoff would be for pitching you gift guides or a product for a gift guide? If
honestly, like through December, because everybody like the real secret is like everybody's trying to meet their December goals before they go on vacation. So they're pulling out loads of like they're just publishing gift guide after gift guide after gift guide. So the more stuff that can come in, and like specific stuff. Like if you look around the stuff, everyone's obviously trying to get their gift guides to rank on SEO, and the things that I know at Well+Good we saw success for were really, really specific things. So it was like gifts for your friend with ADHD, like gifts for your new mom friend who already has 2 toddlers, like stuff like that. So the more specific you can get in that language within the emails too, because like I'm searching my inbox for like the randomest friends and people that someone might have to give a gift for. So yeah, that stuff is also really helpful. But I think it's, especially like the closer we get, the more niche, the better, because those are the things that everyone's kind of scrambling to get live.
Super helpful. And Jessica, I see a question here for you. She posted in the chat, how popular would storytelling across topic crossovers be? For example, beauty and wellness meets school, high school students part of innovative classroom learning, latest beauty practices prepared to graduate, ready to enter the workforce.
This is so interesting, Jessica. I'm not totally sure I understand the question, but like I mean, this sounds like a really cool story. Like, yes.
Yeah, I was just like,
sounds great.
Trying to figure out like how much of an interest there would be in, not traditional beauty and wellness as it relates to products and things happening in the industry, but really fusing it with another topic like classroom education, like teachers in high school, like something that would be considered completely unrelated. Like if that fusion is something that folks might bite into, if there was
I love that. I love that. I think the reality is, and I'm going to be super candid, like I think everyone is really trying to figure out right now in media, like what their strategy is. And I think all across the board, we see like the commerce and the SEO, of course, but like across the board, I think people are really leaning into like those types of stories. Like I think people are really excited to tell magazine stories again. So like when you have something that really feels like this is an interesting story, like I think pushing angles and pushing like cross-platform stuff, and not cross-platform, like linking these 2 different subject matters, especially in beauty, because beauty seems to be kind of permeating everything right now, and beauty is what people are clicking on. It's really, anything that like I think there's a lot of interest in stories in beauty that make beauty bigger than it is, like that do go beyond products. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing as a shift in the industry as a whole. I may be biased because that's what I write about, but that's what I think.
That's helpful. Thanks.
Alex,
Uh,
yeah, I saw Alex. I saw your question up next. If you want to ask.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. I would just love to hear more about your mental health coverage area, and just curious if there are any mental health stories that you're like currently thinking about and wanting to tell, and then also what types of sources are related to mental health are most helpful to you. Like, is it doctors? Is it actual patients? Just how can we help you in your mental health coverage?
yeah, I think for me in particular, like it really spans the gamut. And I think, it's really cool to be able to like write my own column and that like I'm the queen of deciding kind of what's there. So like in terms of sources and what that's looked like, it really goes across the board. Like I've done stories with Paige DeSorbo and Lindsay Hubbard around sort of like their relationship to beauty. I've talked to real women about their relationship to beauty as it relates to their mental health. I'm constantly looking for experts around, like psychodermatologists. There are not very many of them out there, but if you've got one, oh my God, pitch it everywhere because everybody is looking for that like the skin stress, all of that connection is so important, myself included. And yeah, but I think, I think also like any products that are like feel good to look good. So like aromatherapy soaps or like confidence boosting lipsticks, like anything like that, because I think we're also at a time where like a lot of this research is coming out around like the endorphins of doing your beauty routine and all of that. And I just think that's where I'm seeing the industry going. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of the coverage, like outside of my own too, going as well.
Totally. That's super
Did
helpful.
that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank
Okay.
you.
But
Eric,
like I'll just say, like I think anybody who loves beauty probably has a story to tell around like the feel good, look good piece of it. It's just a matter of like kind of sussing that out. So yeah, like sources, experts, I'm certainly open to everything. It's just about
Right.
storytelling.
Awesome. Love it.
Eric, I saw you had another question here. I'm just going in the order of this chat.
Yeah, just wanted to know what the best time of day to pitch you is. Like we get pretty varied responses from that. People always think Friday afternoon is going to go into a black hole because people leave early. And then how about weekends and evenings for you? Do you have a preference?
Yeah, weekends and evenings, I don't love, but I'm not someone who's constantly in my inbox. So other editors, like I think it's so different from person to person. Like I have very like set kind of inbox hours for myself. Like I go through pitches on Friday afternoon. So like if a pitch is coming out on Friday afternoon, like I'm probably seeing it, but I'm probably the only one. I think primarily like 11 to 4 is probably when people are at their desks and like seeing their inboxes. Anything beyond that, is, kind of may get buried, it may not. That's why like that subject line, obviously, we all know is so important. But I think also in terms of timing, like the other thing I'll say is just because, and I'm sure everyone's heard this a million times, like somebody doesn't get back to you immediately, it doesn't mean it's not there and like on their brain. Like I'm such a filer, and I think that's the only way most of us stay organized these days is like if I know I'm writing a story on honey hair products in a month, I'm gonna like make a folder of anything that might relate to that, and I'll circle back when I'm working on it. So, hopefully like I try to respond as much as I can, and I know everyone does, but just because something, after 2 follow-ups doesn't get a response, it doesn't mean it's dead in the water. But yeah, I think getting that 11 to 4 hour is probably like your best bet for catching an eye.
Thank you.
I know we are close to time. I see 2 more questions here.
Oh, Sarah, it was psychodermatologist. I just saw your quick one.
Thank
So it's like a psychiatrist, dermatologist. Yeah. And there's one more.
Are you still?
Travel stories.
Yes, I see Duanya is still here.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Hi guys. I was wondering what type of travel stories you were looking to feature for the holidays.
I don't cover a ton of travel personally, but I know, I think like everyone is thinking about relaxing, restorative sort of things for the new year. I think everyone, especially after the last few weeks, is just done. And I think also budget travel is always like the best, or last minute, like driving distance trips from New York, like sort of at this point, the things for people who don't have anything planned are going to be the things that are like come do. I feel like if someone was like, a spa trip that's 2 hours away from New York, for example, like would be a great thing for, now till Christmas and beyond.
Okay, I was curious because I'm a be working on this project to where we're pitching a company that basically does kind of like light shows in a sense, right? And I know that that's something that people can do whether they're traveling on the holidays, and they're actually doing a couple of events across Florida as well as in the Cayman Islands. I was curious to know like if it was more so like things to do, budget friendly things to do. So thank you for sharing that insight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like I think stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'd love to go see a light show in Florida. So yeah, like that's,
Mhm,
where
right,
people
fun,
are
right? Okay.
traveling. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Zoe, I know we are right at time. Thank you so, so much for hopping on, editing all those pitches, doing these Q&As. We're so grateful to have
This
you.
is so fun. I feel like my friends and I have this diatribe all the time. So it's fun
Yes.
to get to talk about it. Thank you guys all for being here,
Amazing.
and feel free to reach out. And yeah, hopefully hear from everyone soon.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Zoe.
Zoe.
I
Thank
will
you.
post this just for everyone still here. I will post this in our Slack channel so you guys can always go back and reference it. I'll also post Zoe's email if you have any pitches now that have sparked her curiosity from this. So thank you so much, Zoe. We'll be in contact. We really appreciate you.
Amazing. Thank you. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
And bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Zoe. Bye.